So Blu has really given a lot of thought to who he wants to harm and hurt because of the wedding catastrophe. He has not taken into account the fact that he himself was a big part of the disaster by not bringing the cake and not bringing the bouquet of flowers. And it's true that the wedding itself didn't go according to plan. The pastor, he really should have practiced more. They should have had some rehearsals. They didn't have any rehearsals. And the wedding party were more interested in other things than sitting down and actually enjoying the wedding. And they didn't seem to be particularly interested in, participating in the manner that they should have participated in. And they enjoyed talking with one another. His best friend kept flirting with the pastor, which really irritated him. So he wrote down all of his plans, and then he began to implement them. He started by studying. He studied on the proper herbs, medicines, and things that he could add to drinks and food. And he began to think about the stuff that he grew in his garden and what kind of herbs that he could pick and put in different foods and different drinks. He didn't really want to kill anybody, but he did want to seriously make them ill. And he wanted to plot revenge in different types of revenge for different people. And he really held her family very responsible for not even bothering to show up. And it irritated him thinking back on, I've been calling her Frida, but her name is Frieza. And he's been thinking about the fact that she tried to talk him out of the marriage. And that she said that Geppetto was flighty. And part of him feels like that maybe she was saying that he wasn't good enough for Geppetto. That she would realize that he was a mistake and she would walk away, and that in a way terrified him. It's true that he had chased many different women, and most of them had just turned their noses up at him. And the only reason that Coran went out with him was after she discovered that he was suddenly going to date Geppetto and had taken Geppetto places. And that's when she decided she was interested in him. And but he just took her out on one date and realized that, if the only reason she wants me is because Geppetto does, that's shallow, and that's not what I want. Geppetto wanted me. When the moment that I met her, she was all flirty and wanting to go out with me, and I kept saying, you're really sweet, and I really like you. Yet is your sister home? And it just seemed really stupid of him now, looking back, that he had kind of turned away from her. And she seemed so wonderful, and she had deserved so much more than what she received. So he was so angry with all that had happened during the wedding. He had to find a way to exact revenge on these people. And after he studied up on different concoctions that he could create with food and drink, he decided he would do something even more devious. He would read the Book of the Dead and read about some rituals that he might perform, spells that he might cast, things that he might do to harm people in other ways. Turning people into toads and setting them on fire and freezing them. Well, he knew how to freeze people. He had done that. But there were other things that a person could do. Things more devious. Even, well, as he said, he didn't really want to kill somebody, but would killing them and raising them back from the dead be... What would it be? Killing them? Would it be so bad? Would it be that evil? Well, he was going to read about these type of things anyway. He was going to study them and see which direction he really wanted to take. Why, there might be other devious measures besides some of the practical pranks that he knew. The jokes, I mean, sure, he could order the malaria virus online and he could put that into somebody's food and, well, it's true, they could die from it if they didn't receive treatment. And malaria, well, it wasn't so much heard about in these parts, but he could do it. He could also just make a concoction to make them vomit and make them ill, maybe even make them pass out. Or he could go really deep into things and order concoctions such as cyanide and other types of poisons that might do irreparable harm to people. These are things that he was beginning to consider. He was delving down that dark path. He was so livid and angry with these people. He had to find a way to do something about it. So then he began to practice his magic. He knew there were spells that he wanted to learn that were mischievous, dark, and devious. He hadn't learned them. He hadn't spent the time on his magic that he should have. He used to practice more before he and Geppetto got together, and he'd kind of, well, given it up for those wonderful swims in the ocean and those beachside barbecues and snorkeling and playing with dolphins and, well, just being with the animals and gardening, and there were just so many other things that had taken up his time. No, he needed to do some other things here. He needed to make the commitment. He had the herbal knowledge. He had this cooking skill. He had the mixology skill. He needed to bone up on his magical skills, his spells and incantations. Yes, he needed practice. This was going to take time and effort and thought. He was going to have to be committed to this. It was going to be a long-term arrangement, a long-haul scheme, a plan that might take a long time. After all, if suddenly half of the town came down with smallpox or malaria or some other ill-fated disease, why, they would be looking for the root cause. But if perhaps this house came down with malaria, and that house wound up with vomiting and nausea, and this place, their house burned down, well, these would be separate incidences, and not necessarily connected to Blue. Yes, these would be totally different and devious. No, there would be no chopping up with an axe. No stabbing with a knife. No running over with a car. No vehicular homicides. No. Even though he plowed people over with a ski jet and a bicycle. But no. He had to go about this carefully. It had to be well constructed. And there was so much work to do. So many things to do. Why, gee, even a cow's milk might even be poisoned. Yes. And there were concoctions to make. There were nausea concoctions. There were poisonous concoctions, cyanide. He might even make the bubonic plague bottle it up. Malaria was certainly an option. Smallpox. Yes. All of these things. He could do these things. Yes. 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 It was going to take time and effort, and a lot of it was going to be the studying, the practicing, the making the concoctions to the right, perfect specifications so that they would do damage and yet not death. No. Death would be too easy, and it'd be permanent. Why, he might want to torment these people further. And where would the fun in that be if he couldn't torment them further? No. He had to make the right concoctions. And he had to do it for the right people. And perchance, when he went to the beach, he met upon a werewolf. So, thinking in hypothetical reasoning, that he had to find out what werewolves could do. Might it be an ideal to have a werewolf attack on these people? I mean, mind control. Yes, this was a possibility. Perhaps mind control. Oh, gee. But this werewolf, he was more into being congenial and desiring to get along and proving that werewolves were just misunderstood beings. Well, what's the fun in that? Haven't you ever? And he said, oh, when I was younger, I mauled somebody, and it upset me. Then Blu, he went to practice a ritual he learned from the Book of the Dead, to call upon the beings and the spirits that would inflict pain, that would bless his evil desires, to harm those he felt who deserved his total revenge, his total plot, his total plan, his vindictive nature. Yes, he must call upon them before he enacted anything, before he continued his plots and his plans. He must have their blessing. He must perform this ritual correctly and precisely. He had read it. He had thought about it. He had practiced it in his mind. Now was the moment of truth. Now was the moment that he had to accomplish. He had to accomplish it. He had to say the words as well. He had to invoke the very nature. Yes, he must say those foul, awful words that would bring about those rights. Then he went home to feed the birds. And as he watched them, as he listened to them, he thought about Geppetto, and he thought about his past and his memories, and he thought about someone who he had lost, someone who he loved, someone who he had trusted and told everything to. Why, she was the first one he had told about how he felt about Geppetto, how he wanted to be with Geppetto. She, alas, had not survived to see the wedding, or to be there, or he might have taken her. But he thought about her, and he thought about the last time he spent with her. He thought about how he had stroked her, and how he had scratched her neck, and how he had hugged her, how he had turned her a shade of pink, just so he could shave the pink wool and sell it. What would she think? What would she think about his evil plans? Oh, her love for him probably would convince him that this was a stupid idea, that this would bring irrevocable harm to the ones that he really did love.